Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Would you like to learn how to turn any plain looking deck, anything you've got, or any other surface like a surfboard or your car parts or anything at all into a gorgeous real carbon fiber? Or maybe you would like to learn how to apply a custom awesome design of your liking onto any surface. This is not the first time I'm doing this. Over a year ago I've done my custom deck. Carbon fiber top, carbon fiber bottom. And look at this. This is without resurfacing or doing anything at all. This is right in the board. Just got some dust off of it for filming. No blemishes. Perfect. If you're interested what that board was, it's called the Beast. I've got 25 videos on how to build one from scratch, so take a look, it's on my channel. So if you are interested how to do this home by yourself and where to buy parts and what parts you need, what tools you need, follow me to my workshop and I'll show it to you. By the way, this is going to be a tutorial how to do a colored carbon fiber. I already got a really detailed and a long video step by step on how to apply a black carbon fiber, which is pretty much the same, but take a look if you're interested. Just so you can easily find it, I will leave the link to that tutorial in the comments below. In this video guys, we're going to customize this Manta Pro deck. There are two reasons for doing that. For starters, it is a bit too flexible for me because I'm heavy and my battery enclosure is quite stiff. So two of them flexes of the deck and the battery enclosure do not match. So I need to do something about it. So why would someone decide to carbon fiber skin the deck? Well, number one is to make the deck stronger and make it less flexible. Reason number two, well, it just looks really nicely. You know, this is not a DIY deck, this is manufactured, just showing you the results. And here we go, these are the two reasons really. By the way, to anyone who was thinking about, you know, this new thing that is becoming quite popular when you have like designs on your deck, they're really cool, it's really good looking, and you get a either clear grip tape over it, or use a smashed up glass, or using like a sand, a special grade sand to make a grip tape. So pretty much the skinning process with carbon fiber is exactly the same, with the difference with instead of using the carbon fiber, you will use a material, fabric, that is printed with the design you want. So the materials you will need. Well, obviously a carbon fiber, real carbon fiber. You can go for like a black, or you can go a bit fancier. So I'm going to make my board with like blue tone. My wheels will be blue and other parts as well. So I've decided to go for this absolutely gorgeous black and blue carbon fiber. Look at this. You got to be really careful when you're handling carbon fiber. This will make my board stand out quite a lot. Next one up, you will need a base coat. You don't have to use it, but I will definitely use it. I've done it on my previous boards. This will make a nice sticky first coat for where the carbon fiber will stick to, and then you lay your resin over it. Plus it's going to eliminate any chances of a wood pattern or any other color, like a light wood color, to penetrate through and be visible. Base coat resin and a hardener for it. Also, you will need epoxy coating resin and a hardener for it. There are different types of resins. The mostly used ones are EL2 laminating resin or the XCR epoxy coating resin. The only difference is that this one is a bit more expensive. This here is for more of a surfaces that will be on the show, like car parts. In my instance, is a deck. I wanted to really stand out, so I spent just a bit more and went for XCR. Also, it's meant to release the air bubbles a bit better than the EL2. Sorry, right there. And yes, it does. And this is it out of chemicals to actually stick your carbon fiber on. So out of the tools, so there are two ways of carbon fiber skinning the deck or any other part, is using a vacuum system or hand laying the epoxy. Obviously using the vacuum system gives you much better results, but it does require much more tools that you see right now on the screen. I like hand laying the carbon fiber. I don't do it for like a living, I don't do it a lot, so I'm trying to bring the cost down. So what do you need out of hand tools? You will definitely going to need a sander. I'm using this one here that I had laying around the house. You will need some sandpaper. You don't have to use the mechanical tool. You can do it by hand, but it was just going to take a bit longer. Also, you will need quite a few brushes, okay? Because every time you do a coat, and there's a few coats there, the brush goes in a bin. It just dries up and you cannot use it anymore. So you will need minimum of 3 brushes, or have another one just in case. The better the quality of the brush, the easier it's going to be for you to do what you're doing, because on the cheaper brushes the hairs do fall out sometimes and they get stuck on your resin, and you're trying to pick them and you ruin the coat and you're trying to redo it, it just gets messy. So get at least half decent brushes. Also some mixing cups, also some mixing sticks. I would also recommend to have either a heat gun or the hair dryer ready, because what it does help sometimes to release the air bubbles out of the resin when you're mixing it, and it does work. Sometimes you can actually get them out when it's already late. And last but not least, very importantly, is an electronic scale. I'm using the kitchen one, it's quite good quality. At the moment I don't know where the hell it is, my wife took it for cooking, so I have to get it back. But it's a normal standard electronic scale. This is to get your ratio right. This is very important, guys, but again, I'll explain later. Now, most importantly, if we're doing something, we should do it safely. So, always wear the eye protection, because stuff could get into your eyes, especially when you're using power tools. Definitely use a respirator. So I'm going to use an FP3, really good quality respirator. If you cannot get your hands on one of these, at least an FP3 dust mask. You don't want to get that carbon fiber dust into your lungs and resin dust into your lungs, because you will be sending the first coat down, okay? And also some gloves. They could be disposable, or there could be some gloves you got laying around the house. You don't want the resin on your hands either, okay guys? So please do it safely. Guys, try to do your sanding down outside or in really well ventilated areas. You can, as I said, use just a block or a normal sandpaper. And please remember to wear your mask, yeah? You don't want to be breathing this stuff in. Or, in my case, a power tool. Okay, so we got the paint removed. So what we're trying to achieve, guys, is to get to the grain of the wood. So the pores are exposed, so the undercoat will stick nicely to the surface of your deck. Watch out and make sure that anywhere you got curves, like on the drop down here, or anywhere on the edges, you get it really nicely cleaned up. Anywhere in the middle, if you got little patches, it's fine, because it will still stick. Now we're going to wipe this down with a wet rag and apply some undercoat. Just using a slightly damp microfiber cloth to get all this dust off of the surface. Application of the base coat could be done in 2 different ways, guys. So I'm using I believe, a better way, just a bit more expensive. So using a purposely made black epoxy base coat resin and hardener for it. Or you could also do is you could paint the surface of whatever you're trying to carbon fiber skin with a really thin layer of paint, preferably spray paint, so it actually soaks into the actual timber and still has like a porous rough surface. So you can do that, and then just apply a thin layer of a resin that you're gonna use for the rest of the coat. It's possible, you can do that, but any way you choose to do so, the principle is the same. So you need to start mixing up your base coat, and this is the way you do it. So on each bottle, depending on what you're getting, but most of the times it will tell you the ratio. So this one here is 100 to 33, so pretty much 1 to 3 ratio. So I'm gonna go with 75 gram of the resin and 25 gram of hardener, and that's pretty much gonna do the ratio correctly. Another thing what we're going to do, guys, is I found this piece of the timber, which was actually homemade swing for my little girl, and I'm going to do like a test piece, because sometimes, well, most of the times you got little bits left over, and yeah, I'm going to do a test piece while I'm doing the main board, and in a second I'll explain to you why and give you 4 or 5 really good tips. Stay tuned. So let's put a cup on the scale, and only then we turn the scale on. This way the cup's weight is not considered. Okay. If you are using the undercoat epoxy, you need to mix it up so that the actual coloring gets all mixed up nice and even. Okay. That's our resin. And now 25 gram of hardener. It is very important, guys, to mix the resin really well. Should take about 3 to 4 minutes to actually mix the resin together with the hardener. Don't worry, you got plenty of time. By the way, there are different types of hardeners, like speed-wise, normal and fast. I normally just go for normal. I got time, I'm enjoying what I do, so I'm not in a rush for it to dry quick. Plus it gives you a bit of, you know, more time to do things. So ensure that you get the mixture done really well, scraping in the bottom of the cup and also the sides of the cup. Otherwise you'll have like a nasty sticky patches on the surface, and you will never get rid of them. I've just noticed I forgot to use my gloves. Sorry guys, use gloves when you work with chemicals, please. Okay guys, so while I'm mixing the undercoat, I'll give you a couple of tips. So tip number 1, if you have like multiple products like base coat and also the resin, always mark up the hardener for it. So when I got them, I straight away look at them, make sure I read them right, and I mark them with like crosses, stars, whatever. This way, when you actually concentrate on working on it, you don't mix them up and use the correct stuff. Tip number 2, before using the brush, do this. Kind of hit yourself with the hairs of the brush for anything that could be loose on the brush itself to fall off. Sometimes you'll see like little hairs fall off as well. That'll make your life easier, trust me. Tip number 3, you will always have a little bit of resin left, well, enough to do a little tiny test piece. So grab yourself, I don't know, a piece of cardboard, a piece of wood laying around the house, and do a small test piece. And before you actually proceed with the next step with the main board, main deck, do or try next step on a small test piece, especially if you're doing this for the first time, guys. If you're like sanding down for the first time, or using let's say a power tool for the first time to sand down, try it in a test piece, because if something goes wrong, you can always chuck that one and you will not ruin the actual main deck you're working on. I think it's a good call. Next tip, always mix just a little bit less than more. You can always add more or mix more resin if you need it. The fully curing time required for the resin is about 8 hours. Yeah, the time to get to that sticky but not runny position, I'll explain it later, to when you apply next coat is about 2 hours. So you got plenty of time to mix up more. Otherwise, you're just gonna waste the material, and it's not cheap. Now let's apply the undercoat. Use a normal brush, and it's pretty much like doing a normal gloss painting. Simple as that. You don't have to go too thick on this coat. This is literally like a glue to stick your carbon fiber or the material with the printed design on too. So this is it for this step, guys. It is about 18 degrees in my workshop, so it's gonna take roughly about 2 hours for this coat not to fully dry. You don't want it to cure fully, but to become like sticky to the point where it doesn't run off anymore, but sticky enough for the next layer to be applied. Okay, so unfortunately this brush and this cup is now going in a bin, hence why I said mix only enough that you need, otherwise you will be chucking it. And we will check up on all of this in 2 hours. In the meantime, we're going to prepare the material that we're going to be laying over the main board and the test piece. Just another quick tip, guys. If your plan was to do just one side of the deck, take a rag and just run it slightly all the way around the edges of the deck, just in case if you had a bit of undercoat that ran down on the sides. And also make sure that you wipe down underneath the deck where the holes are for the trucks, because through the holes the material will drip through. So we're just going to wipe it down quickly. Well, it's actually not too bad. And just to show you guys how fragile carbon fiber material actually is before it's locked in with the resin. So look, beautiful carbon fiber, and if you pull on it, you're changing its direction straight away. You could by mistake pull it too hard and actually distort the factory layer. See? Just breaks up, just like that. Like all beautiful things, carbon fiber is very fragile material. As you can see, it's not actually sealed and the strands will be coming off of it. So you have to be really careful when you handle it and cut it. Don't worry, it'll become very strong as soon as we seal it with epoxy. So remember to take a look at how does your carbon come from the manufacturer. Most of the times the sheet will be 1 meter long, and then you buy the linear meters. Measure out your deck and also give yourself just a little bit extra, just in case if you make a mistake. So I do need 1 meter and 100 for my deck lengthwise, and 300 width. I'm giving myself 20-30 mil all the way around for mistake. I did not do this last time I was working on the material, but this time I will, because I think which will definitely help you guys to cut the carbon fiber neatly. We're going to put a masking tape exactly where we're going to cut the carbon fiber. This way it will stay together and will not fall apart. And normal scissors. Okay, so we successfully cut the carbon fiber, ready for the application. Now let's just make sure that we roll it up very, very neatly and put it on the side for when we are ready.